Three, two, one. It says we're live. Are we live? Is it true? Are they telling the truth? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela with another edition of Notes on the News, where I share with you headlines from my news feed, and so we can get a survey of what's going on in the news. And we also talk about kind of my thoughts and ideas about the headlines, about the articles, about the subject matter in general. But as the headline says, the title of this video says, it's not news. It's just my notes on the news. So let's proceed. Mother shocked to find racial slur in first graders spelling homework. It's coming off the grill, so you can read the article there. Miami Bridge meeting over crack held hours before collapse. I heard that in the meeting they were like, it's a crack in it. It's probably okay, or it's going to be okay. But I guess they were wrong. FBI ex-director Andrew McCabe sacked days before retirement. And McCabe specifically, I don't really have an opinion or a feeling about him, but in terms of what it represents, like I feel like the vindictiveness and the mean-spiritedness and the pettiness of Zero, like that's what it kind of represents to me. And also you think of all of the black and brown and working folks, poor folks who, worked, supposed to get a pension, and then after they retire, the company, sells the pension, steals the pension, has lied about the pension, misrepresented the pension, and then, they have to readjust the pension. So, a lot of times firefighters, police, teachers are in that situation where, oh, sorry, we told you you were going to get this, but you don't get this, So, I think he's probably going to be okay. But it's also like, I feel like whether he did something right or wrong, I don't really know. But I do know that usually these rich white men protect other rich white men. So, the fact that Zero is just so mean and petty, I guess my only, I don't want to say hope because it's not my only hope. And I don't even know, but I feel like, they say what goes around comes around. So some people like to put out a lot of like mean, petty, and just, so, may we all get, what we deserve. May we all get what we deserve. Like a natural disaster had hit, Venezuela's crisis is spilling over its borders. Here's what it's like at ground zero of the exodus. I don't know what's going on in Venezuela. I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about the fact that I think now they have a socialist government or something. I'm not really, maybe I should click the article, but I don't know what's going on in Venezuela, y'all. What's going on? It will clear up. It'll clear up. A 13-year-old dies after complaining of headaches and cold symptoms, which sounds like the flu, right? Headaches, body aches, cold symptoms. This child was in Flint. This is the first I've heard of it, so I don't know anything about it. I just checked my news feed before I went to do this, so I'm not clear what the story is. I don't know if this is related to the water crisis that's going on in Flint. I don't know what's going on, but I'll try to keep my eyes and ears open for more information. So rest in peace for the baby boy and his, and just peace for his family and his community and for all of us. Blossom in southwest China captured by drone. So I don't know if they've cultivated the land like this, like to plant trees in certain places. We know they have cherry blossom season, and I guess it's also the season for apricots and azaleas. Ooh, isn't that pretty? It's beautiful. I like down south, what I notice is that it seems like as the seasons unfold, first I can't remember what, like there are waves of color. Like first at one point you see a whole bunch of pink flowers, and then some point you see a bunch of white flowers, and then, later on you see yellow flowers, or, you see all of the different colors at once. But it seems like in the natural landscape, there are waves of color. Like I think that the greens have yellow flowers and they come toward the end. But anyway, it's pretty. Brooklyn grandma arrives home to find her entire family dead from a murder-suicide. Now, this grandmother was 53, which is not that, and I think the baby was months old. Like, I don't even know if the baby was a year old. So I didn't like read the story, and I couldn't really go far, very far, but just, peace to the people who were murdered and suicided, if that's what actually happened, and to the grandmother and the family and the community. That just sounds like awful. You just coming home from work, it's a regular day, and then, that's what greets you. And then what happened inside the house, that sounds awful too. Like, so, okay. Custodian allegedly stole South Carolina students' money during walkout protests. So the children walked out, they left their book backpacks in there, and they say on the walkout was Tuesday. I guess on Thursday they contacted the temporary agency that employed this custodian. I think it's a black woman, and said she don't need to come back or whatever. But I guess she got $180, if allegedly. She going through people's bags. And it's sad too, like what kind of desperate situation are you in where you feel like that's like the best that you can do? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go through these kids' bags and, take $20 here, $40 here, $5 here. I don't know. I think they said it was 3 bags, but still, I mean, okay. Everest cleanup campaign aims to airlift 100 tons of waste. So it had like an image of, I guess, on Mount Everest. It's just like all kinds of garbage and waste. It looked terrible and awful and just disgusting and gross. This carry stuff with you society, like where you get like a little single serving size of chips or a little bitty plastic bottle of water, and like all of this disposable mess and garbage that we carry around. It's just like a lot of garbage. I noticed that like in Hattiesburg, when they started doing recycling, like I didn't hardly have any recycling, I guess because I try to stay away from the plastics and try to buy food in bulk and whatever. But it was like you would see like the processed foods, like how much packaging it comes in, and like we might have every 3 or 4 weeks enough recycling to put it out. But it was like people were putting their recycling out every week, and it was like overflowing, and it was like it's a lot of garbage and waste out here, and we just think, oh, I'll just throw it away. But where does it go? And then like when you see people like throwing stuff out on the street, and I think I came up in an age where we were like trained not to litter, or maybe I saw some commercial or something, because it's like a personal affront to me when I see people like littering. I'm just like, what kind of barbarians are they? Why don't they hold their garbage and find a garbage can? Like, it's just like, I'm like, who does that? What's going on? Black restaurateur left with thousands in damages after racist, drunken white men vandalize his business. And that's coming off of Atlanta Black Star. I don't know where it was. Ooh, I'm hungry. I got a lot of stuff to do. I might not get into all the stories, or many of them. Austin NAACP president gives insight into bombings that killed 2 black men and injured others. Well, we know one of the black men, I'm thinking, is the young man, the 17-year-old. So those 2 went to the same church. Now, what is interesting that I read in this article, and not only did they go to the same church, but like one of their fathers was a prominent minister in the community, like a prominent black minister, and the other of their grandfathers was, they seemed to be prominent black people in the community. And then the other thing that was interesting is that the Latina woman who was bombed was on the block with someone else, like on that same block with someone else who was a member of that same church that all the other 2 men went to. Excuse me. So there is a theory that perhaps the person just went to the wrong address, and it would have been 3 people who all went to the same church, 3 people who were all black, 3 people who represented prominent families in the Austin black community. But anyway, just, they're still on high alert, of course, to those of us who aren't immediately in the community, or to me, it's like, oh yeah, that story, that was like but they live in it. It's not like a story. It's like, so they're like, is it going to happen again? Is it, and that's understandable. So, a dominatrix reveals a surefire way to maintain a lasting, healthy relationship. Basically, it's like communication. Don't be silent. Say what you need to say. Say what you think. Say what you feel. Communicate. Don't be trying to be cute and quiet and demure, ladies. Say what you speak. Use your voice. A new school in India will prioritize happiness instead of grades. Take a look inside. And I think even in the design of the building, they designed the building, the architects or whatever, with the purpose, with the intention of creating a space where the students would be happy. I just thought it was really interesting. And when I traveled, to India, I kind of felt like the value of that society felt so different to me from this society that I grew up in. It seems very materialistically oriented, and I felt different in India. I felt like there was much more of a value on things non-material, and it was just kind of like, it never really occurred to me, I guess because I've always been in this society. It was just kind of like, it just felt very different to me, and like outside of like what I had even thought was possible. So I don't know. I mean, we might need to think about designing schools for, like, what are we designing schools for? What is it that we want people to have at the end of life or at the beginning of life or during life? If not happiness, then what? Enslaved Black people, the part of the Trail of Tears narrative that no one told you about. So, I guess the Trail of Tears is when the white man, relocated involuntarily, a lot of Native folks, into reservations, just their continued, taking of this country. And I guess that some or a lot or all or many, or I don't really know what the statistics are. I know that, Native folks, some of them had enslaved Africans and kept enslaved Africans enslaved. And as, I know that there were some who did that. And I know that there were some who had a different perspective. So I don't know, like, statistically, if it was like statistically significant, the amount of Native folks who kept Africans as, slaves, or if it was like insignificant. Like, there's this, like, I remember I was working with this security guard down south, and he was like, the person who started slavery in the United States was Anthony Brown, somebody, I can't remember. And he sued so that he could keep his slave. And, he would like always like to tell me about that. And, I looked him up because I was kind of curious, like, what is this foolishness he's talking about? Like, it's like sometimes people are like, men get raped too. And it's like, yeah, men do get raped, but a lot of times things that are just statistically insignificant can get blown out of proportion and like get disproportionate attention. And so it's sort of like that Anthony Johnson, I think his name was. It was like, well, that was one, person who really was like, seemed like he was trying to like figure out a way to thrive in a janky, jacked up system. But, I don't know. I mean, there are evil Black people like there are evil white people, but, y'all had a whole system of enslave, and you continue to have systems to enslave Black people, exploit us for our labor, to abuse us, to harass us, like Anthony Johnson, so I don't know, now this article is coming off of Atlanta Black Star, so I don't know, I guess I'm always kind of curious, like, are we doing the most? Like, yes, people of color unite. Or are we, or do we all need to unite, and look at a common enemy? Like, is our enemy each other? Or is our enemy, do we have it? But if we do have an enemy, is it rich white men with property and power? Or is it, the Native folks who are out here, getting drunk? I guess they making money on casinos, but I don't know. Mauritius President Gurib Fakim to resign, according to the lawyer. Remember, that was the only woman who was a head of state in the African continent, and she looked Indian, not like, Slovakia protests, 65,000 join in Bratislava anti-government protests. Outrage after Australian official wants to grant white South African farmers visas to come to civilized country. Now, y'all know how they treated the white colonializers in Australia. You know how they treated the people there who were already there, the black and brown people who were there. So is that the type of civilized country they talking about? Is that the type of civilization they talking about? Because they seem like they're like brutal savages. But anyway, I wish that they would all, like all of the, all of them would go someplace and, live together and mess each other over. O.J. Simpson praises Trump and blasts Colin Kaepernick in crazy post-prison interview. I didn't really want to talk about, O.J. Simpson because, I don't know how much of a conversation we need to have about people who are like mentally ill and, and what that really represents other than mental illness and being a victim of the system. But what I did think was interesting is that Colin Kaepernick was going to a deposition, like, where he like gives a statement or whatever about somebody in football. And he wore a shirt that said Kunta Kinte. And that's just really interesting to me because he really doesn't say a lot with his mouth, but it seems like he says a lot in other ways. And then I also was like, well, Kunta Kinte is a fictitious character, but he was a fictitious character who's like, you're not going to enslave me. I'm not going to participate in this. I do not submit. I do not submit. I do not submit. But then wasn't that one of, what's his face's ancestors? Is that like a real person or a fictionalization? But anyway, I think Colin Kaepernick is like, I don't submit. Is that what he's saying? Black community in Austin on edge after 3 bombings in 10 days. So we talked about that. Black man serving 241-year sentence since he was 16 and judge regrets the decision. An engineer with the firm that designed a Florida pedestrian bridge warned of cracks in the structure days before deadly collapse. So there was a voicemail that went out too, and then they were meeting when I think the collapse happened. Here's why Terry Crews compares Hollywood to a slave plantation. It seemed like basically what he was saying, if I understood correctly, is that, they basically the idea of like silencing people and like beating people down and like, you don't want one person to get out here and have some success because then other people will get some ideas about having success fighting against rich white men with property and power. But I did read it, but I don't really remember specifically what his, how far his metaphor went. Hey! Stone tools from Kenya give early glimpses of human behavior. So it kind of talked about the fact that some of the tools that they found in the area had come from other areas, so that the people were building relationships with other groups of people. They assumed that they went to the other places, and I didn't know why they assumed that they went to the other places as opposed to the other people coming to them. Like, I don't know how people construct these stories when they're doing archaeological research or history or like what evidence they have to, I don't know. But it was just kind of like talking about, how people lived back in the day and like when you're a hunter and a gatherer and, if stuff get tight here, you want to have relationships with other people and how the tools were relatively sophisticated. So anyway, in Kenya, Chinese President Xi Jinping reappointed and granted the right to remain in power indefinitely. So over like it's been like a 2-week window, right? From when we first we talked about on Notes in the Newsfeed that they were talking about getting rid of term limits to now, the term limits is got rid of and he's, he can remain in power indefinitely. So how quickly things, can happen and change. You think we have laws, we have rules, and the people who make the laws and the rules make them for you, not for them. They go do what they want to do. And then they can make more laws and rules to support them doing what they want to do. They're not for them, they're for you. Keep you in your place, not to keep them anything. Comey told 3 FBI officials about his conversation with Trump. All 3 have now been forced out or resigned. This last guy that got fired 2 days before his pension or whatever, they say that he was keeping notes of his interaction with Trump. So, you know, I guess the theory is that, ooh, he gonna get him, or they gonna, you know, have some information that's gonna, you know, I don't know. I guess it's just like, I just want it to be over already. And I just like, you know, today I was thinking, this morning I was thinking about the period after the Civil War, and how, you know, the brothers in the North made up with the brothers in the South, and the brothers in the South weren't really, you know, punished. And things like the Freedmen's Bureau that had been established to help the black folks, the brothers in the South were mad about. So they got rid of the Freedmen's Bureau. They got rid of, you know, it was just like, we just want to make up with, we just want the brothers in the North and the brothers in the South to get along. And I don't mean brothers as in brothers. I mean brothers as in, we're all rich white men with property and power. And we all got to unite to keep, you know, stuff together so we can keep making this bread, this money, you know. So I don't feel like, ooh, they gonna get 0. I just feel like that's their brother. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Russia says it snuck nuclear attack submarines near U.S. bases undetected. So it's kind of like, you know how, like, it's almost like a child playing a game. Like, you know, my mother says, don't go in the kitchen, and I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to go here. I'm going to stick my foot in the kitchen. Did my mama say anything? I stuck my foot in the kitchen. I had my whole body in the kitchen. She told me not to go into the kitchen, but I went to the kitchen. She didn't even say anything. She didn't even know. That's like what Russia's doing. They like, we had a nuclear submarine right next to y'all. We could have bombed y'all, and y'all didn't even know it. Now we telling you. You know? So, I mean, I guess it's all fun and games for them, I guess, you know, like showing how powerful they are, you know. So that's what Russia say they did. And I believe it. That's just me, but I do believe it. Mauna Traore joins BET's In Contempt as regular. Sherry Cola to recur in TNT's clause. Are y'all gonna be watching In Contempt? I've seen a couple commercials for it. I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with BET because it's not black owned, but I do like The Quiet, and I do like I like Black Card Revoked. I think it's very funny. I laugh when I watch it. I do. I have a good time when I watch Black Card Revoked. I do. And I like Robin Thede show, even though, you know, I feel like she's kind of like, you know, she comes across as uninformed in a way, but I don't know if she's supposed to be representing like the common person, because she's like a lot of times she'll have experts who come in and who give a better analysis, a deeper analysis, a more sophisticated analysis, because sometimes her stuff is like, it's funny in a way, but it's like, it's not really correct. But I still like the idea of the show, and I like that they do those like mini documentaries or whatever they call them, and that's on BET. But I still like, I just got both my eyes on them. My good eye, both my eyes are good as they are. I'm just blind in this one, and I can't see out that one. So, you know, they both good. Chicago High School gives 1,000 students detention for walking out for gun violence protests. So we've heard, I think it was 3 young people in Arizona who got beat. They got the corporal punishment for walking out. 1,000 children got detention for walking out. I think I've heard about some children being suspended for walking out. I don't know if they're like, you know, a way for the children to connect and get support. I saw a list that went around a group that I know here where they had like collected information about all of the schools in Michigan that had walkouts. They tried to collect a comprehensive list. And then they also said, it's an organization of lawyers. They also said, you know, spread the word that if any young people are in need of legal representation, that we'll try to connect them with, you know, someone local to them to help them. So I don't know if nationwide there's some type of organizing going on like that, and what types of repercussions the children are seeing, you know, for, you know, that. I don't know. why Colin Kaepernick is smiling after leaving NFL deposition. Y'all, I've been listening to Three Hoodoo Sisters, and she does. I've only heard one woman. It sounds like one voice to me. She does like tarot readings, but like tarot readings on like public, like Cardi B or Beyonce and Jay-Z, and I don't know, but so it's interesting because I was listening to her. She was doing a reading about Colin Kaepernick, and she was saying he's not going to win this case, but something is going to happen in this case. Some information is going to come out that's going to allow him to bring another case, which he's also not going to win. It's going to get settled quietly. And she said that there's like these three powerful men. I think she said it was like there's these three men, but one of them, or four men, but one of the men is like sitting back smiling in the cut because he not really with the powerful men, and he not doing it necessarily for Colin, but Colin is going to benefit. And she said that Colin need to tighten up his money situation, and that he is working on tightening up his money situation. He not going to be destitute, like out on the streets, but, it's just going to be tight, for a little while, but he going to be all right, so, that's, what more could we want for him, to have his dignity and to do what he thinks is the right thing to do and to stand up for what he believes in. I don't know what it is about that story that I just really, I don't know him, but it's just like every time I hear about him, it's a good, I'm like, I guess I just feel like I'm here for him. I'm here for him. Georgia high school student hangs whites only sign over drinking fountain. I agree. About Colin Kaepernick. So yeah, I feel like, yeah. And I don't consciously like have him like in my thoughts and prayers, but I feel like I need to. Yep, Colin Kaepernick. Or, I don't know if I need to or not, because, he all right, but, I'm here for it. And it was, I'm kind of, and then I was listening, this is totally off the subject, sort of, kind of, but then I was listening to Three Hoodoo Sisters, I think it is, and she was talking about Beyonce, but apparently, I don't know, but she was talking about her before. She said there are two children in the belly, one is a male, one is a female, they're going to be born early. She was saying all of that. Now, this was like, I think this is well before, people knew she was having twins or whatever, so, I don't know. I think it's I just think it's interesting listening to her. Like, it's something about her tone or whatever that, it's kind of like interesting and soothing. And I need to study more. So I'm like, sometimes I just listen to her. I just discovered her like 3 days ago. Floyd Carter Sr., one of the last remaining Tuskegee Airmen, dies at 95. So rest in peace, Baba Floyd Carter Sr. And it seemed like this was a couple of days ago when I heard about this story, but it's just coming across my timeline now. Botswana says Trump encouraging poaching. So that's the last story that I have. So there was some legislation that Obama had pushed through where, you couldn't bring trophies into this country from Zimbabwe. And by trophies, I mean, dead animals that you had killed that I guess you want to mount on your wall and be like, yay, I killed some animals. I don't really know how all of that works. But, Obama had done some, or his administration had done something to sort of cut back on that, because the theory was that it was encouraging people to go over to Zimbabwe, Botswana, wherever, and kill these animals, and that more animals were getting killed, and it was causing troubles for the animal community. The animals have a community? For the animals was getting killed more. And so when Trump came in, he like, oh, forget that. And some people were like protesting, so he just got quiet about it. But they say last week, I think they said silently he went on and did, what he wanted to do for his, for his boys. I don't know if he hunt, but don't his son hunt and like to kill big game, or, they punk that, like, that's, like, I just feel like, is it really impressive? Like, yeah, I beat up, I killed, like, I'm not really impressed by, hunters, like that type of hunting. Like, it doesn't really seem like yes, it's a victory. It seems like it's an unfair fight and it's some bull. But anyway, that's what I got. Dang, I still need to do This Is Us, but I don't know if I'll have an opportunity to. But I did put up, if you didn't already check out my not Real Housewives, Married to Medicine Part 2 of the reunion review that happened yesterday. And I had Be Fabulous You Friday up. We were talking about vision boards, all of that kind of stuff, for a quick minute. Yeah, check it out. So that's what I got. Today is the best day ever. We're still working on 1,000 subscribers. So thank you. The reunion was intense. The whole season was intense for me. Like, girl, I don't know. I don't know how. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I probably already said it on there, so I don't even want to keep talking about it, because it's like, that's probably why my energy is low now, because I was just talking about, watching these people's marriages. And plus, I'm hungry. So we'll just go with hungry. You are the greatest. You are the number one. So be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous you. Peace.